Welcome to the March 20th pre-agenda meeting of the Valdese Town Council. Y'all were quiet.
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with
Address or removed from that list. Hearing none,
A public hearing is to ask for citizens input about a community development block grant that the town of Valdese had 6.2%. We were unfortunate that the project didn't get funded last time.
agenda for April 1st. Thank you, ma'am.
And the one right behind it is what will have to happen after the
CEO of the company.
All the
Let me pull it up here. I think that's it, right? All right, great. Town council, mayor, town manager, thank you. Where we came from, and then talk about some of the stuff that's going on recently, and then updates later. And they really want to be able to do that, so let's just do all of Valdese and the surrounding area, and that's where we're at today. So in the last few years, and why not Valdese, right? That also extends to, and I'm going to show you a map here. I'm very grateful. I don't know how to say that anymore. From two local people, young people, and the technology is changing very rapidly right now, and that's why we're doing what we're doing. I want to be able to provide that service to this town. Are from this area. A couple of them are from. When you call in a problem for your internet provider now, you're probably not talking to somebody local. Between 8 and 5. Okay. We have 45 years of experience plus 45 years plus of experience in our team. Two is hiring the people that know this area. It's a lot different building and infrastructure underground out at the coast. Our contract labor that we have out there working, they are all from North Carolina. Their company is from High Point, North Carolina, so not too far. The best technology that internet companies can provide to their services. The products that we're putting into the house, the box that you get to the house already. So it's future-proofed. Don't buy stuff and then change it out in a year. The box that you have in your house is ready for the future. Before we did. That's your download speed and your upload speed are 1,000 megabits per second. Have the same speeds up and down. And it's anymore to maintain it. So that's part only $5, and we have no idea why. We didn't ask for it, that's for sure. But for us, 100 megabits per second, and I know that sounds different, for 10 times better. Once we get it deployed, people will see that. There's nothing tacked onto that. We're not going to say, hey, this is the package you started with, you have to stay with it. We want to make yellow in the middle of the screen, the yellow line that you see, that is drawn around downtown. That is drawn around downtown Valdese. We are door. We have that permit, and it should be, I'm happy to say that through the first 3 months of the year. Our goal is by October 3rd here for the community, and we love where we live. So a couple of water lines, right? We want it to stay protected. I don't ever have to worry about ice getting on the lines and tearing it down, which is a big, right? So it's going to wash away. So they either mound it up or they'll put straw down and come back and reseed it, the resident that lives there. We take very much so on site, and I can attest to the two guys that are sitting in the back here. If a customer calls us on our 1877 number and they have a problem, issues do come up because we can't get there that day. It's probably because it's either pouring down the rain or we're standing call, which I think Alan can probably say he's getting fed up with. Make sure that any issues that have came up the week before, they have been addressed. If they've got to have water for people to live here, right? Now, what are we doing? This is a given, and I want you guys to hear from me. We follow the rules. There's an 811 ticket for everything that's dug in the ground, period. If it's not, the guys that are here working, they care. If it goes in the ground, it's because it's an honest mistake. DOT permits. So any of the NCDOT maintained roads, we have to have a permit to work on those. Morning, they are very happy with what we're doing. They're happy with our traffic control and be successful in locating water lines. And I think you guys all know from talking about, so we have technology out there called ground penetrating radar that will show us what's in the ground that we purchase this from to do a little bit more fine-tuned training. We know how to use it. We've had it in the field now for 2 weeks. And I think it's going to help us be successful in not having waterline hits. Show you, these are pictures of ground rush. It does sink in, we go and restore it. And then the two pictures. Now, here's a drain. This is right behind Valdese Waldensian Church here. And they went above and beyond to make sure that dirt didn't get a water line. Had to dig it up. We repaired it. We put gravel down. And you have to let the gravel settle before you put asphalt down, or the asphalt. They know what they're doing. And just like us, they're on site same day. I not only increase the people coming back here, but it's going to answer questions. So we're going to stay until the meeting adjourns, and we'll be here for about 50.
The technology is great, believe it or not. Well, you might be doing the
Underground work.
doing the underground work.
Yep. Line in the yard that goes to the house, we can repair those. The contractors usually do, and they make sure Alan's aware of it. When it comes to your infrastructure, that service is going to be turned off a lot longer, so it's kind of a give or take there.
We all would, but the issue, so it's not just a water line that needs maybe our town expertise to repair.
The ground, you want it to settle, so when the pavement's there, we're not going back in 2 weeks because it's all between Alan and I. Usually Doug, our construction director, and Alan talk good in it. The lines we've hit, we've found problems that were existing because of some of the older than an hour and a half, and then the customer is, and when I say customer, your
Service from Foothills, the next 2
and I are here long-term.
Okay, good.
I love this area. I like walking out on there because I like walking out on there because they have a secure room that has a generator on it already. So why not work with the local? And Adam called me last week and said, "Hey, you guys come take a look at this. Valdese Lawn Services meet me over there tomorrow to make."
I don't know, 3 or 4 holes maybe, and there's no straw, enough for what
Again, if there are any issues or problems, thank you very much.
Thank you, Zach. Okay, council, does this need to be on the agenda to be presented again?
Operation and grant. This is again to kind of go back to Strive. Again, this is all state funding. There's no local match involved with this. To say, hey, we have a project. If you're interested in participating and being a great part of Valdese here.
Okay, seeing no objections, this item,
Scott here.
okay.
I'll let you do the introduction. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
item F, report from committees, and our
Based on the recommendation, first of all, thank you very much for allowing meeting about 6-7 weeks ago, February Town Council meeting. We've been to Recreation Commission, like you said, that was handled on March the 11th. We reconvened, I believe, for us to proceed with seeking of the Accessibilities and Parks Grant. Approval of that before we can proceed. This is of a timely manner because I believe it is due on various pool structures that we visited throughout western and central North Carolina over the last 6. Last time we asked the commission recommend, and we asked that the council allow us to proceed with an RFQ for an architect, access to the pool year-round throughout the winter of 24-25.
Myself, and I think maybe the rest of the council, y'all have taken the bull by the horns with this thing, and I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you, I appreciate it. I wish you can, we can spend some time over coffee talking about it.
okay, we'll leave this on the, your presentation on the agenda for April 1st.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. By Mr. Perry.
Get it down for the short. Myself, Rick McClure, Steve Perry, Gary Ogle, and Tim Page was absent. So we've got a varied group of different experiences there within this group, mostly some people that have, as well as running a business here. We didn't approve a person that would be the secretary, and that was Gary Ogle, and I was voted as chairman. Report to you other than that, like any organization, you'll think that if you look into it, you may be able to find some efficiency. We had, Tim Page was able to attend. All the members were there for that meeting. And by the way, the first meal, he also gave me a book about public finance. But we do appreciate the time you spent there. And I think that asked Bo to give us hard copies of the 23-24 budget so we would have a baseline to talk about as to where to maybe bring some efficiencies to the town. So it's not like that up here, we only want the best for the town. We want to save the essential service. We want to do that. So that's it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Eddie.
I don't see if this needs to be on the April agenda. Is that what you said?
I said there's no need for us to.
Next item, F3, Drug and Homeless Task Force. You gonna do that, Heather?
I can. I was allowed us to use their facilities for that, so we will be meeting for the first time, and I'm excited because our new police chief is actually going to be joining us for that.
If you may have noticed that, but our next meeting is April 9th. we'll be able to consider the recommended A&E firm, architectural engineering firm, and invite them to submit.
A lot happened at the Rock School. So to start, I've got a lot happened at the Rock School. So to start, I've got some pictures just to show the current status of the expansion that will go into what was the old Colony Players office next. And then you can see that they have removed the ceiling for new electrical that we really didn't use for a box office, but more for a break room space that has been existing there, have been removed, and framing is being done. Or that end of the room will have a concession area and also a janitorial mop closet. So that's what you're seeing framed. This is a picture of the hallway as you come in the rear of the building. This is the backstage area. If you come in the back of the upper part, east side entrance, it's right, but very proud of those numbers. You'll see our sponsors listed down through there. Crashed several other projects of that nature. This is focused on 12,000, called them all, we counted them all, we tabled them all. So 330. This grant, the applicants within a couple days after. So very quick turnaround. This grant was announced, I believe it was February 26th, on improving the heating and air units and have the chalk fire doors that are from now. So that will improve that for us as well. When we found out about this opportunity, that was really important to us. So that's one of our goals with this whole project.
Marissa, this is a grant that's
Rural Transformation Fund grant, yeah.
So the fact that we've already received.
They actually asked us to apply for it. Essentially, we're not to address that at this time.
So.
Well, the fundraising, where did you say it stands right now?
We're close to 40,000.
Close to 40.
Close to 40.
And you had up there a little bit ago?
I don't think there'd be any problem with that if you want to see more.
That's fantastic.
If y'all haven't been up there,
Disposed of or sold or auction off or?
We actually didn't work for us. I mean, there's 473 of them and they are heavy. Options. I know Charlie reached out to Kellex to talk, really want them, if they would go quick, but it looked like if we surplus time. So we ended up scrapping them for what we could get out of them. Yeah.
What Kellex told us was
Every single avenue to make that the best decision possible.
I don't see any reason to project and so interesting. I think it'd be good to
I
have
agree.
each meeting until it gets completed.
Do we have to approve the grant for you?
We're
or not?
submitting a draft resolution with the
okay.
grant application. So when the grant is awarded, there will be a resolution.
On that, we can talk more about that when the time
It'll
comes.
be at the April 1 meeting.
No, it'll be after the grant. Once we.
Thank you for your work on this, Marissa. Okay, council next to present this.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Traditionally, the street department, we need to do is once we get a set in stone price, then we can get together and once we get that set in stone, then we can proceed with what we can do or what we can't do. It was actually 8 streets because 2 of the streets had 2 different parcels, so it came out to 10. And we were able to complete. As far as the 24-25, we need to wait until we get a set in stone price. Till we can price, then we can meet, and I'll have my recommendations, and then the street committee can go over that, and then we'll.
Pavement condition survey that was, that we paid JMT to conduct. Looks like
then we basically already got it, and it fluctuates with the, with everything else. So we could come in a little under or over. It's our normal rate that we get every year. So
of the 23 streets out, it says 3.74 miles of those 23, but.
For getting all the streets paved in 1 year, that we had to hire for $45,000 last year. It took, more than 10% of our paving. The DOT often will work with the cost might be less than going out to commercial. So I just throw that out. You're probably talking with these people, but I think it might be worth pressing that particular to do that. Yeah.
And, see if that's a route that we could go. I mean, I'm not familiar with.
I don't think
Not until the
This will
budget.
be removed from the April agenda.
But
Thank you.
now, we can visit it later, correct?
Yeah,
When he
yeah,
gets
we'll have
ready.
to after the budget.
Good evening. All right, so talk taxes pretty quick. We'll try to make this as simple as possible. Little update, our data is through February, so this would be July through February. So for the current year, the collection's at 2.64 million of our ad valorem taxes. And just to compare the prior 2 years, we're at 2.07 million and 2 million. So the reason why I have the top line in purple there is because, one, this is where we changed when Burke County is collecting our taxes now, and two, that was a reval year. So to compare to prior years, a little skewed, mainly because of the reval. So, but you can see where we are at this point in time. The next one is going to compare the budget part. So the way the budget process works, the Burke County gives us the tax valuations, and the way the budget has to be adopted, it's before they bill out the taxes for the year, right? So we have to go off the documents that they give us around mid-April, and with that calculation, the valuations that we had, our estimated value was 2.44 million. What they actually billed after July 1st, and it fluctuated more so than usual because this was a reval year. So what they've billed after July 1st, we actually expect to get about 2.65 million. So you can see they've, up at the pink part, or I mean purple part, they have collected most of it. So most of the taxes for the year have been paid. Things are just trickling in now. And that's because the hefty interest penalties if you don't pay after January 5th. So what that did, comparing the blue versus the green, gave us an extra $218,000 that we were not expecting in tax collection. So first thought is that's extra money that we weren't planning on, right? But I do want to remind you, in last year's budget, we were $238,000 short. So what we had to do when we adopted the budget was balance that with fund balance appropriated, so pulling money from out of reserves. So ironically, that's pretty much a wash there. So we're actually still in the hole a little bit, about $20,000. So that's kind of the tax update where we are. The good news is we are getting more than we expected, but it is a wash because we pulled that money from the reserves last year. And that reserve money carries over with the budget, and we'll see that as we do the budget retreat. That deficit that we had, it follows us. So we'll get to that at the budget retreat.
Okay.
Any questions on that?
Council? Question?
Yeah, I don't understand. You said it was a wash. $200 and some thousand, but then we collected 2.6 million. What, I'm not following that.
Okay. So what we budgeted versus what we're going to actually get is about $218,000. Let's just say 220.
And that's what we had to have to balance the budget last year, is that correct?
No, the bottom number there, the 238, that's what we needed to balance the budget last year.
Okay.
So we were saying last year, we're $238,000 short, right? But actually, after the taxes were billed, we're gonna get 220 of that back that we did not expect.
Okay.
Does that make a little more sense?
It
Okay.
does.
Let me ask same question a little bit differently. Does the town have to adopt a balanced budget each year?
Yes,
It's required to by the state, right?
correct.
All right. Last year, did we adopt a balanced budget?
Yes,
Okay. And that was adopted last June, I think,
yeah,
by the last council, not this council. Okay. And the way that budget got balanced last year was the way it's been balanced a number of times in past years: pull funds out of the reserve, do a transfer, sometimes from loans, sometimes from reserves, and that makes up the shortfall to balance the budget, right?
right.
Okay. So when we get this year, I was at an April 18th budget workshop, April 18th, 20. And that's when you and the town manager presented the budget draft to the council. And along with that budget draft, you presented the recommendation of a tax rate of 51.5 cents that you said would raise $395,000, $350,000 of which would be used for repaving, and the rest would be used for part-time employees, fire department, and recreation center lifeguards. Later that got changed, it was used, some of it was used for signage, some was used for, some were used for part-time pay. So anyway, you projected that the 51.5 cents would generate $395,000 of new revenue. It was called new revenue, right? But then as it turns out, that 51.5 cent tax rate generated over $600,000 of new revenue. Is that correct?
Whatever that added this was 218. So
Sorry?
whatever that was
Yeah, well,
close
you
to
told
218.
me, before that it was 604,000, so
Okay.
that was in early February, so I'll accept your word on that. But, see, the problem with that is, that's not a wash. That was setting a tax rate that generated new revenue 50% higher than what you presented to the council and said, this is why we need 51.5 cents. So, and it's great that we ended up with $218,000 that's not in the budget, which happened to be enough to cover the shortfall in the Old Rock School renovation. So that's good. I mean, we put that $218,000 in reserves, that's great. We take it back out to cover the shortfall in the Old Rock School renovation, that's great too. That's a wash. But the wash was not collecting taxes. The wash was having money that was not budgeted for a renovation project that was not budgeted. That was the wash. That's my point. And so I don't think we ought to try to pad over this. I mean, a lot of people were hurt by that tax rate. And it didn't have to be 51.5 cents, did it? To get to $395,000.
I'm just reporting the numbers, sir.
I'm sorry?
I'm just reporting the numbers the way it came out.
Yeah, well, I mean, we could all do that kind of math. I think we probably did not need 51.5 cents tax rate to raise $395,000 if in fact we raised 50% more than that. So that's the point that I think we all need to understand as we go into this new budget. And none of the new revenue went to any town services, did they? Did it? It went to paving, but nothing else, right?
It was paving and signs.
A little bit to part-time pay. Yeah, okay. All right, and then there's another issue that's related to paving that we'll pick up at the budget workshop, but in fact, I think maybe we want to keep this on the agenda because we might want to pick it up at the regular meeting next Monday. The town has been setting aside about $400,000 a year for the public safety building, I believe, right?
Correct.
And last year, that $407,000 was earmarked for debt service. I don't think earmark's an accounting term, but was that a council action that allocated that $407,000 to debt service, or was that just a bookkeeping
Yeah,
move?
it was part of the budget that gets transferred into the project fund, and then later can be used for debt service payment.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the council could then allocate that for a different reason than debt service, since the debt was canceled that it was going to pay for, right?
Correct.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Bo, appreciate everything you do. This, estimating the revenues that would come in off of 51.5 cents tax rate, it's not an exact science, is it? It's an estimate. You don't know really what the revenue is going to be when you make that.
It's a moving target.
Okay.
Yeah.
But my question would be, why Is there a good explanation why we received additional revenue? I mean, that is off quite a bit, to receive an additional couple $100,000. Is there a reason for that?
Reval year is the main reason. They're putting their numbers in through the end of June. As you know, we have to have our budget adopted before then.
Right.
So we're using the best data that we can. We push the county as hard as we can for the most up-to-date stuff that we get from them.
So whatever tax rate we use this year, should we say it might be plus or minus a certain percent? Because it's not an exact, you did your best to estimate what the revenues would be.
Right.
Fortunately, the revenues ended up being more.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate for our citizens, I understand that, but should we use an estimate that is gonna be within a certain range, plus or minus? 'Cause there's no way, it looks like there's no way to estimate exactly. Maybe there will be this year, because we now know what the reval is and we know what the property values are. So
Yeah.
I think going forward, our estimates are gonna be more exact with this budget than they were last year. Is that
Right. And
probably
if
true?
you go back to prior years, you'll see that they're always a little off. Reval years are going to be a little more worse than others.
Yeah.
But
I know it was the intention, it was the intention of the council to have, that tax rate be exactly what the revenues were estimated at, but it didn't turn out to be that way. I'm just speaking because I was on the council at the time when that was set. And I actually have the presentation right here that you presented back, March 22nd with that estimated revenue, but we appreciate what you did.
okay.
Unfortunately, the estimate wasn't exact.
Yeah.
Okay, council, anybody else with questions? Okay, does the tax collection update need to stay on the April 1st agenda?
Yes, I would say yes.
Okay, it'll stay on. Oh, thank you, I appreciate it. Okay, council, next item, 7J, consideration of approving resolution at 104 Roller Street Southwest.
Yes, and I'll bring this up here. So here's a map of where the property is. So the town has received an offer for $35,000 for this property. So it's right behind the Dollar General and between Kellex and Meridian. And it's 2.09 acres.
I'm sorry, what's the area?
There's 70 there, there's Dollar General, so behind the Dollar General, 0.09.
What'd you?
It's, the offer's from Bartopia Stay and
We're on the left side.
Owns that area.
What is the present, what's the history of it?
And I imagine the town had to clear it off and took possession of it through a lien process. That would be my guess.
Well, I don't know if I was, it said the land value was $135,874. That sound like this
I think that's,
somebody bought it for $300,000, zero. So I just thought that was a curious history, but, so we have an offer for 30,000?
35.
35,000 until next Monday's meeting. I think I would have to strongly oppose this, because I don't think the value of public safety building before the town, I don't think it's worth putting up. And before you sit down, could you bring us up to date on where we stand with the 118 FATS?
1,000, and that is currently still being advertised. Yeah.
Well, 14? Cost the town about 12, so that's great. Thank you.
Okay, council will, Mr. Weichel. I'm sorry, item K, my fault. K, budget amendments. Go ahead, sir.
All right. This isn't pulling from reserves or anything, so this increases the sales part of it. The revenue, $6,500 is what we project to get us through the rest of the year, and then that increase the sales next year.
Okay, council. Any questions? Okay, we'll leave this on the April 1st agenda.
And then the next one is 13-10. For attorney fees, we've used about triple the hours than we had planned in the budget when we did the budget last year. So this will help us get through the rest of this fiscal year to cover our attorney fees.
Okay, questions, council? This also will stay on the April agenda.
Are we gonna ask a question?
I did, nobody asked a question. You have
I
one?
thought Mr. Rivers was
I
gonna ask a
have a
question.
lot of questions about
Yeah. You have
Since it's
one?
gonna stay on the April agenda, I'll save my question for that.
Good enough.
Okay.
I'm
Anybody-
happy to answer any questions now.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Councilmember Mears, if you have questions for me,
Yeah.
I won't be here in April, so.
Oh, you will
Now,
not?
no, my partner will
Okay.
be attending, so now's your opportunity.
Council, would you speak to this? Can you explain maybe why we have these additional increases in attorney fees? I mean,
Yeah, so what I can tell you is the hourly rate is the same,
okay.
as it's always been. So it's just the multiplier, right? It's more hours. More tasks being asked of me, which is multiplying your hours. I mean, I think you're looking at 1 month probably is triple what it was last year, and our last month was probably double what it was last year. So yeah, it's just more requests, more work.
Is there anything more specifically, maybe citizens' request or?
Well, we certainly, yeah, I mean, I'm sure I could go through and break it up for you. Probably more involvement in projects. Certainly, public records requests have been very time-consuming. I will tell you that when council was contemplating whether or not it was going to implement a policy to charge for some IT services, that died down a little bit when we decided not to charge for IT services or pass those expenses along to those submitting requests. That immediately opened up the doors again. So when we did that, we got it immediately. I think it was 3 new public records requests. Those were responded to, and then I think we have since got 2 more. So public records requests are certainly time consuming. It requires me to review all the emails that are being requested to remove attorney-client communications, because those are not subject to production. So you're seeing, a lot of uptick in that area.
I know I have a historical perspective from last year to this year. I know we're having a lot more meetings. We see your face much more. We appreciate you being here, no doubt, but we definitely have more
meetings.
billable hours.
Sure.
Because you're here much more often.
Yeah, yep.
I know the answer to this, but I'm gonna ask it. If the mayor calls you, or if Councilman Ogle calls you, or one of us, then we have to pay for those phone calls.
Yeah, so everything obviously is billed on an hourly rate.
Right.
So it's broken down in increments of tenths.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and I ask that to say this, it's good counsel that we remember that every time we call our town attorney, we have to pay for that. So what I recommend in the past, those questions have been directed either through the town manager or through the mayor, instead of each council member calling separate and individually. And that does help save some money. So if you'll just keep that in the back of your mind for future reference. Is that a fair statement, Attorney Sir?
Yeah, I mean, in the past, that was mostly how I communicated, was through the town manager or yourself. But do know that if you call me, any member of council calls, I'm gonna answer.
Sure,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, council, any more questions?
I do think we need to look into implementing the fees. In doing studies with the UNC School of Government, I've been doing a lot of the classes, like free classes with them to learn about how things work. And it's funny because a lot of towns are actually dealing with this right now because it's a new arena for everybody. I actually have requested that I go to some training. And I need to talk to you about that, or Jessica one, because it is a training for council members to know about what we have to give out. It gives me a little more, there's a lot of questions that wouldn't have to be asked of an attorney, and it would be a lot less for the town for us to go through a $250 class as opposed to paying the attorney to give us the answers to some of the stuff we're asking. So I would request that we have a little more training in that area. So I've already put that out there in an email to everyone to say, I want to go through this training because I want to know what's expected. I would not expect a town to keep paying. I think you said in January when I asked you to send, I don't wanna misquote, but I think it was in January when I said, how much are we paying because of the, request for, the information. I think it was $6,000 in January alone, and and there were more requests coming. That's a lot of money, and I know we have you here for meetings, but we need to let citizens know if every month you've got 3 to 5 people requesting for the emails, we're wide open books. I promise. Like, that is one thing about me. I just sat here and told everybody my hair tie broke. I'm a little off in the head, I'm sure, to most people, but I'm always gonna be transparent, and I would rather them do that and put the money that they're requesting, the money that we're having to give to an attorney, I'd rather put that toward a pool structure than to have to, I'm sorry, I know that's when our town could use it. So if there's anything we could do, like other towns, other counties' emails, if it's a legal thing going on, I completely understand, but just to have something, it's not good for our town at this point. And, I think we do need to look at that and maybe say, but say, we do need to put in place some type of fine to make sure just every Tom, Dick, and Harry out there isn't saying, hey, we got to look at how much money is going out.
Attorney is the best guide for that.
26th and 27th, and May 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, 2024.
First agenda, I will accept a motion to adjourn.
Oops.